And it's not really showing now, is it? Hey, Francois.
How are you doing today?
All good, all good, all good. Good to see you. How's everything?
Really, really good. Nice and busy, but really, really good. Your side?
Awesome.
Having fun?
Having fun is the name of the game. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, you need to do something else.
Exactly, exactly that.
All right. Awesome. Alan, are you there? Just give Alan some time. Loris, are you there? 100%. Very, very much there, very much alive. Will be unvideoing myself soon, just so that you see my smile. Yeah, we really love to see the smile.
You guys hear me?
Yep, can you hear you fine?
Great, thank you. I was trying to sort out my microphone situation.
It's a pleasure to meet you as well.
Yes, exciting stuff. Happy to be sharing the space, and to Melsoft, thanks for the invitation as well. Looking forward to the session and potentially many more.
All right. Looks like everyone is ready. So we'll just give 3 minutes to start exactly at 2 o'clock. And the master of ceremonies, Mr. Loris Chimu, Mr. Melsoft Academy, the heart and soul of this company, will be taking us through the whole webinar.
You're a really good hype man, eh? I like it.
Alrighty then, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone on the call, welcome to the Microsoft Academy AI for Software Development Masterclass. So we currently have 10 attendees. However, we had about 100 of them sign up. So in proper African culture, we're going to give these people 2 more minutes to join, because I am very much sure that there is a lot more where this is supposed to come from. As we wait, however, I hope that you are ready. I hope that you have your brains and your notepads on, because we have phenomenal speakers that are here on the call and on the chat. And so I hope that you are ready for what we are about to witness here as the guests start trickling in. That's more like it. I'm liking that the numbers are starting to increase, which is amazing, fantastic. So yeah, I hope you're excited. I'll say in the chat quickly in the Q&A section, just type in, what are you most excited about today? What are you looking forward to the most today? Is it seeing my face? If you did, then you can go, it's fine now. But what are you excited about today? What are you looking forward to? I'm just going to be reading out the responses as they come in. So come on. The attendees are finally trickling in. Brilliant. Good to see you, Yolokazi. Good to see you, Sia Tukoza. Good to see you, Sipo. Brilliant stuff. I am very happy with what's going on here. All right, we're going to be giving our guests 2 more minutes. So at 14:03, that's when I will do the introductions properly. For now, we're still typing in the Q&A. What are you most excited about? So John Andre, the legendary John Andre, says learning more about AI. John Andre has been pushing for this for quite a while now. And so this is going to be one of those days where you actually get to find out. Someone else says learning if AI will steal our jobs. That is a brilliant thing there. They might. Honestly, I feel like AI is going to steal even just your lives in general, but that's a conversation for hopefully another day. Learning more about AI from Yolokazi, brilliant. Can't wait to hear the speakers from Tebuho. That is amazing. Learning from the masters, from Jade Harris. And we do indeed have masters on the call. So I guess that you have given me the opportunity to then get into actually introducing and announcing the people that we have on the call here. So first off, our first speaker who's going to be speaking, I'd like to just share a little bit about what I know about this man. His name is Francois from Otinga.io, and he's very much a good friend of mine, as well as a colleague in a lot of ventures. He's a master at hackathons, a master at organization AI, and he knows a lot of stuff that you certainly do not know, which is amazing. And the second person that is going to be speaking today, it comes by the name of Alain Makamo, who is the VP Engineering of Yama Software. And you know that you don't just get to that position by being average or by being meek. And so we're very excited to hear what this visionary has to say about the whole landscape today. You are blessed. If you're watching this from your home, honestly, you are about to have the time of your life, because the masters that we have here are just too good. All right, I like the comments that are coming in. They're kind of overflowing now, which is amazing. Sipo says we're here to see how we could use AI to improve development practices. Just stay until the end. We have something for you. Just stay until the end. Be patient and you'll get something nice. All right, cool. All right, so I'm just going to go through our schedule quickly, just so that everyone is aware of how we're going to be moving. So my name is Loris Jimu, and I'm going to be the Master of Ceremonies today. Going to be taking you through this. I have the pleasure of doing that. I'm the co-founder here at Microsoft Academy, as well as the COO. And my role is basically to see the day-to-day operations of the school, as well as to be the student success partners. And so most of my students are already cheering me on in the WhatsApp. I love you guys so much, and I can't wait for today. We also have on the call Francois, who I just announced, as well as Alain. At some point after Francois speaks, he's going to be the first speaker, then comes a short question and answer section. I'm certain that after that chat, you're going to have so many questions because trust me, your head is going to be boggled by what we're about to watch. After that, our second speaker will come on, and then we'll have another question and answer session where you get to pick the brains of one of the brightest minds that we have here in Africa. And then after that, finally, we'll have our third and final speaker, who is my fellow co-founder and the CEO of Melsoft Academy, Mr. Larry Jimu himself. He's going to come in and share a couple of nuggets to you. Hold it until the end. If you leave this webinar in the middle, it's worse than not investing in Bitcoin in 2002. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. All right, so it's 14:05. Without further ado, I would like to call upon the stage, or rather the platform. Francois, would you mind introducing yourself and just taking it away?
Great stuff. Thank you so much for that introduction. Really appreciate it. Love the energy you bring to any interaction. That's the brilliant thing about you, Loris, is that even if we just have a conversation in passing, it's always so positive and exciting. So I really just enjoy spending time with you. So yeah, today I'm going to quickly just switch over, and then we can get rocking and rolling. So hi everyone, my name is Francois Mave, and I'm a technologist, entrepreneur, and a relentless optimist. If you'd like to get in touch with me at any point in time, please feel free to drop me a message on LinkedIn. I'll definitely be eager to engage with you. I'm popping my URL in the chat, as well as giving you a QR code. So today we're going to talk about AI and software engineering a little bit. Now, why should you care? Why should you care about what I have to say? I'm just some random person on the internet, right? Well, I've got about 18 years experience in technology. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Otinga.io. Also the co-founder and CTO of a company called InvestRand, and I've built an AI ops solution for the Tour de France bicycle race in France. And so that makes me qualified to say a little bit of things about AI and technology in general. But mostly I just like to write code, and that's one of the things that I really do enjoy in my life. So today we'll share a little bit about that. So guys, there's a problem at the moment. If you type in the question, what is Melsoft Academy, into ChatGPT, you won't get an answer that's really positive or an answer that really answers your question, right? And it's because ChatGPT was trained on a data set that was before September 2021, which is a lifetime when it comes to the technology world, right? And so what we're going to do today is we're going to fix that problem. We're going to get some data, we're going to tokenize it, create some embeddings, and then use it with OpenAI so that we can fix this. Now, what data are we going to get? We're going to use the Melsoft Academy's website as a source of our data set. We're going to tokenize the content of that website. Now, what does tokenize mean? It means that we are splitting up that big document of lots of words into smaller bite-sized chunks that we can actually use. And then we're going to create embeddings where we're actually going to vectorize those tokens. So we're going to take those tokens and make them a mathematical representation of the sentence. And then we're going to store that in a database called ChromaDB. And finally, we're going to use that to then query the OpenAI chat API to give us the ability to get a better answer. So in a nutshell, we're going to build an AI. And so without further ado, let me switch over, and then I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump straight in. This is going to be a hands-on session, guys, so bear with me. And while this is happening, All right. So just to confirm, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So I said that we're going to get some data, right? And so the first thing is we need to write a little bit of a scraper that can grab some information about MailSoft and pop it into a text file for us. And that's exactly what we've got here. We've got these two URLs. So how we work and FAQs, usually with most organizations is adequate pieces of information to actually get a firm understanding of what they do. And so we're going to scrape those two URLs and grab all of the writing and text and pop it into a file called mailsoft.data.txt. And it looks like this, right? A fairly straightforward file. And then what we need to do is now we need to start building our capability, right? And so the first bit that we're going to do is we're going to load that data from the file, from this mailsoft_data.txt. I'm going to use a library called LangChain, which is a library that really makes it easy for Python to work in the large language model space. Now, like I mentioned, we're going to then take that data that we just loaded and we're going to tokenize it. So we're splitting it up into chunks of 1,000 characters each, right? And then after that, we're going to create a embeddings vectorization of each of those different tokens. So this is where we take those tokens, those pieces of text, and convert it into a mathematical representation of each of those 1,000 character sections. Finally, we're going to store that information in a database. And for those that's paying attention, it's ChromaDB, which is the vector storage database that really helps us do that. And so now we're going to use the OpenAI API along with a vector DBQA, which is a library that helps us pull information from our Chroma database. And then we're going to start asking it some questions. So let's just give.
Seems like we lost Mr. Francois there. Are you back? Okay.
I'm back. Can you guys see my screen still?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Fantastic. So you guys lost me there for a second. Basically, what we're going to do now is we're going to ask the OpenAI's API a question. And so let's quickly just drop that section in there. Come on now. And this is, and as a software developer, in any career, you'll know that there's this moment once you've started a demo, you go like, please, demo gods, be with me while I go through this exercise. And I see some smiles there as that's happening. But what we're basically going to ask is a question that says, what is MailSoft Academy? So for those that's been paying attention on my slides, you would remember that that answer was not a particularly fancy answer that we got from ChatGPT. And so now we're going to execute it. It's busy loading the data in, and this takes a second or two. After that, remember, we're going to tokenize the data, then create vectors and embeddings. We're going to store those embeddings, and we can start asking a question. So let's give it a second to just run and do its thing, and then we'll return to this. So let's quickly, while that's running in the background, it's going to take a second or three, because I mean we are training an AI model here after all, guys. Let's have a look if there's any specific questions or anything like that in the chat, or people asking anything. No questions as of yet, and we're about done with our AI model. And so if we asked the question, what is Malsoft Academy? Now all of a sudden it's giving us a very competent answer, right? Saying that Malsoft Academy is a coding bootcamp that gives us that offers intensive training programs and software development, right? And it actually expands quite a bit, which tells me that the information that we provided it with from the website actually gave it enough information to be articulate in answering that question. So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and switch back to my previous view and take you through some additional slides. Give me 1 second while I do that. Right, so you guys should see me. And this is where we left off with a little meme of the guy being really excited about building an AI. So what does this mean? AI is great, but it's what you do with it that really matters. The thing is, it's like any tool out there. If you've got a hammer is fantastic, you know, but if you don't know which nail to nail in and where, it doesn't really have the impact that it could potentially have. A hammer could be a heavy rock, or it could be a tool that can help you build an incredible building. And so that's exactly what AI facilitates in this new world of ours. It's a tool that enables us to do great things. And so on that note, I want to offer each and every one of you guys the opportunity, because you see, we are going to host a hackathon where we're going to focus on the use cases of AI and how AI can be used for social responsibility in South Africa, which is such a great and important thing to focus on and a real opportunity to have an impact. And so how does this hackathon work? Well, it's going to be a 48-hour event. And during these 48 hours, teams are going to go from ideas sketched on a napkin all the way through to working proof of concept, right? You're going to have the experience of exchanging ideas with incredibly influential people and work with experts across the industry. Why should you join this hackathon? Well, this hackathon is going to have a very big cash prize as the first prize. And so nothing like a little bit of money to motivate people. But not only that, there's going to be a lot of large employers that's going to spend time in this hackathon. And they're going to spend time with each and every one of you, getting to know you if you were to attend. And during that experience, they're going to see, oh, okay, this person's doing some great work. Maybe we'd like him to come and work for us. And so this is probably one of the best opportunities you'd ever have to have a live interactive interview over 48 hours with some of the leading organizations in the industry and potentially walk out not only with some prize money, but a future in your career. And so I'll post a link for the registration there. We'll announce the dates and more details about the event as and when that becomes available. But for now, just to register your interest and show us that you really want to participate in this event. And that is what I have to offer for you guys today. I hope this session was informative, and please, if you have any questions, pop them in the Q&A and we'll spend a little bit of time to answer them.
We actually do have a question. Well done. Thank you for that, Francois. Brilliant. We actually do have a couple of questions here. So the first one is, could you explain what a vector DB is from Yolokazi?
Yes, sure. So remember, we took those chunks of 1,000-character texts, right? And we converted that into a vector. What is a vector? A vector is effectively taking that sentence and converting it into a mathematical representation of that sentence so that machines can understand it. So in a lot of machine learning algorithms and a lot of simpler, I still call them machine learning, but they're not true machine learning. All the data is simplified into mathematical representations that makes it really easy for computers to understand. right? And so a vector database is a database that's optimized not for, tables like a SQL database for querying plain text or something like that. A database that's optimized for querying vectors. And so it's a little bit different, but think of it as similar to a database, but instead of storing the actual plain text, it's storing the mathematical representation or vectors of each of those tokens. I hope that answers your question.
Wow. Wow. I hope you heard that, Yolokazi. I hope you understood that. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you for that, Francois. Second question is from Jade. She asks, can anyone do this?
That's a fantastic question. I think that if you asked me this question 100 years ago, I would say no. No, not everyone could have done that. And let's take that analogy a little bit further. Let's say it's a Da Vinci style engineering, right? Not everyone could do that. But in today's day and age, right, where information and access to information has been democratized, and the work that Melsoft and the Melsoft team has been doing to really make it easy for people to acquire knowledge, I think the only limiting factor is really how much do you want it. And I can honestly tell you that the information and the resources are there. It's just really you that needs to put in the time and put in the effort and really want this, and you'll be able to get it. That's the way I got where I am now. Yeah.
I absolutely love that, and I second that completely. It's honestly a matter of how much do you want it, and it's always been the case with any human endeavor. And to all my students listening, I hope you took a note there. Next question is from Jade. She's asking, what is the law on the copyright of AI?
I like these questions. They're quite meta, which is nice. So at this point, we don't have a lot of case law that gives us guidance on what the right way is to approach copyright. What do I mean by case law? So let's say, for argument's sake, there's a case where someone has infringed on someone else's copyright. And that case is processed through the judicial system, right? And a judge, and if it's in the US, a jury would make a ruling on that. That case can then be used as an example to say, this is how it was handled there, so these subsequent cases needs to be handled in that same way. There are quite a few organizations that are focusing on ways to better regulate and create better laws to restrict the use of people's likeness or their creative work in a way that they can still benefit from it. So a good example is where you take a famous American rapper and the work that they've done, and all of a sudden you've got an AI that's rapping just like him or her, and that rapper is not getting any of the financial benefit of the lifetime's worth of work they've put in to create that, right? And so in that case, my personal opinion is that that person should be, if you were to make money from that particular song that was created, right, using AI, then that rapper should get royalties on it to a certain degree. How much that royalties are, all of that is a very, very difficult question to answer. But in reality, in the world of software, in the world of creative work, attribution is incredibly important, and giving people who are the original creators of any piece of work the necessary credit is an incredibly important thing. That being said, there's a lot of other artists that seeing this as the next generation. And so they're taking a completely different approach where they are literally embracing this wholeheartedly and starting to generate AI content. And because they're the original creator, they can seed these models with better data. And as a result, they can create better AI generated work than any person in the public can. And so there is a double-edged edge to this sword. And I think that it depends on the individual.
Great answer. Great answer. So much to think about. And I absolutely adore the questions that are coming on here. I'm just going to take a question quickly because I'm also watching our time. The entry criteria for the hackathon is going to be sent over to you. But for now, what I will suggest is that you put in your details on the form that was sent in the chat. More information on the hackathon is definitely coming, as well as a preparation guide for you, Yolokazi. Another question for you, Francois. Hopefully you'll be able to answer this in 1 minute, is around the ethical considerations and potential risks associated with the widespread adoption of AI technologies, as well as just mixing two of that. How do we make it so that not anyone can bring in their information and sort of distort the information that's already floating around there?
It's a very difficult question to answer thoroughly in a minute, but let me take a stab, right? So with the advent of any new tool out there, right, be it nuclear technology, be it cryptocurrency, be it the internet as ARPANET before it was the internet, right? Each of those technologies have the ability to hurt just as they have the ability to heal. And so it's up to the human race really to look at these tools and ask yourself personally, what is it that you would want to do? And how do you want to use this tool? Do you want to use it for good or do you want to use it for evil? It is possible to use it for both. And that's the reality of each of these situations, is that you have to make that judgment yourself. One thing I can say is that these models' power are locked in the data sets that they are trained in. And you will see more and more big organizations restricting machine first access to data sets to restrict the abilities of people creating models for malicious intent. And so that you'll see happening very, very quickly. There's a lot of organizations that's already doing that. Twitter is a great example. And that's going to get a lot more prevalent as the world progresses.
Solid, brilliant response there. And I'm so, time is very, very jealous of what's going on here, but I would like to again just give you a round of applause and thank you for that masterclass. I personally, I was baffled by the way that you managed to do that. I hope that now this means that ChatGPT knows something about us. We're on the map, guys. We're on the map. That's brilliant. All right. So as we just take that in and as we just reflect on what we've just heard from Francois, I'm just going to start a poll here asking, do you feel threatened that AI could steal your job? What's going on there exactly? Because the things that we have been hearing about AI is something else. Let's see how the votes come out as we just take it in, as you finish writing your notes, as you start preparing your mind for Elaine to come in and blow the table. So all right, so the results are coming in. And from the 32 votes that we have here, okay, it seems that people are pretty confident that they're going to be able to keep their jobs. That's amazing. 62% say that they are not scared at all. Well, I should tell you something, you should be scared. If you're not using AI, in your day-to-day, you should be scared. But again, I'll say this again, and I've said it since the beginning, just stay in touch for a little bit. We have something really, really, really good for you so that you are always ahead. The fact that you are on this webinar, the fact that you're watching this means that you are ahead of literally 99% of everyone else in this world. We are on the forefront of this thing, guys. And it's just like finding about Bitcoin in 2006. That's what I'm going to say before it even happened. So that's amazing. And so thank you again, Francois, for that. That was brilliant. We're now going to be transitioning into the next section that we are about to get into, the one that I honestly am also just as excited about. So again, I will reintroduce the man that we are about to witness to the stage. Elaine Makamo was at some point the head of engineering at Softech,
and is currently the VP Engineering at Yama Solutions. So what we see here is that this is a man who has held so many leadership positions in tech. And so students, after this, please spam his LinkedIn buttons. Please spam his LinkedIn buttons. I want to hear a call from one of my students saying, Loris, yeah, I got a job. Please, that's the plug. I gave you the plug. That's amazing. And so he's very passionate about driving growth in different industries as well as in different teams, as well as enhancing the user experiences of people. Please, ladies and gentlemen, help me to receive Elaine to the stage. Welcome.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for that introduction. I hope I will be able to keep up with it. Yeah, also, Francois, thank you for your presentation, really insightful. It's always very exciting to witness, what technology can actually do, what AI can actually do. And it always brings us back to the realization that we are just scratching the surface. Something new comes up, it blows our minds, and then we realize that actually this is not the end. It's only the beginning, and there is like so much more that can actually come out of it. And what we need to do is to embrace that, to learn how to work with it and to use it to our advantage, because that's why it is there. It is there to facilitate, some of the things that we do. And as a developer, one of the first things that we actually consider is obviously, how do I make sure that I don't do repetitive tasks, and then you write some code for it, and that you don't have to worry about having to do this thing over and over again, because the computer is there pretty much to take care of that. And the beauty of it, it never gets tired, it will never complain. So pretty much just let it run. So I'm gonna share my screen to my presentation, which is just going to be straightforward. I like to use the approach of more for like an interaction of sorts, and mostly also based on experience to see, how far we can go with this. Just gonna share my screen quickly. Please do let me know if you can see my screen.
100%.
Great. Let's get this going. Cool. So my name over there, as I've already been introduced, I've got over 8 years of commercial experience in software development. And before that, pretty much, just playing with everything that was there available, from your likes of Joomla. I never liked WordPress, really. Maybe I never really understood it. But my journey actually started in 2006 with Microsoft Front Page from Office 2003. Many people that I tell this have got no idea what Microsoft Front Page is, but it pretty much allowed you to develop websites, right? So my cousin brought me a book, an HTML book, because I spent the days, playing games on a computer or listening to music, and said, listen, here's an HTML book, learn this, you might, use it in future, you might be good at it. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I grabbed this HTML book and I started learning it. And I used Microsoft Front Page to pretty much, design websites. And there was no creativity at the time. The websites also were pretty, weird looking. So what I would actually do is that I would go to an internet cafe and pretty much look at some interesting websites, download that website, save it as HTML, get home, open it and try to replicate it. And that is how I pretty much started that, web design journey, with an HTML book and pretty much Microsoft Front Page, which does not exist, by the way. Don't look for it. Better tools have come up as a result, and you'd also have your VS Code, which would probably be the best by simplicity and just like easy of use. And a fun fact is that I also learned back then that you could actually develop a website using Microsoft Word, right? But story for another day. So Over 8 years commercial experience, and pretty much did everything that is out there in terms of like trying to do websites, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript before that, and that's what gave me the experience, and developed over 25 mobile apps and web applications for commercial use. So a lot of them available on the Play Store, App Store, as well as the web. And in that, I've pretty much developed for travel industry, e-commerce, chatting applications, video calling, fitness, recycling initiatives, e-learning, as well as virtual reality. And we pretty much have a platform that you can watch videos in 360 degrees. And now the focus, which is pretty much in fintech and banking, and pretty much kind of like try to optimize that, and with the insight that South Africa is in desperate need of, I guess even Africa in general is in desperate need of systems to kind of like make things work in the fintech and banking industry. What is there is currently kind of old. It works, right? But it would do with a lot of improvement, and we are the generation that can pretty much do that, can change this. And as a favorite tech stack, I've got React, React Native, Node.js, Chakra UI, and I use AWS for almost everything. This is my favorite. It is not the best tech stack, right? So everyone should obviously try everything that is there, and then based on experience, choose a tech stack that they are comfortable with, that it will pretty much work for them. And what that requires is your ability and wanting to learn and wanting to explore, right? And the beauty that we have in terms of like technology, in terms of like learning, is that you almost need no resources, to start that particular journey, right? Because all the data is available online. We've got so much data that is actually available. And now with AI tools that can actually guide you through this process of development, a journey that would have taken 20 years, for some developers, can pretty much take 5 years for you, right? Because you've got this teacher who will never be tired. He will never shout at you, so he'll never discourage you, so you remain motivated. Because, for example, if you look at ChatGPT, how it responds to your messages, it's quite elegant, in that it kind of like keeps you motivated to continue, asking further questions, because it's actually sympathetic, as opposed to someone being like, what, I'm tired, let's resume this tomorrow, because you've asked me 1,000 questions. So it is important to kind of like look into how one can actually benefit from that. And you will note that as a developer, this is probably where you'll fit in. While we've got a bunch of like sleeping positions, as a developer, you'll have no sleeping position, because most of the time you'll be behind a computer, pretty much coding or trying to figure out how to fix something, how to make it work, because bugs is pretty much the way of life. So welcome to this world, right? It is not painful, it's mostly exciting, right? Because what should be keeping you out of bed is not because you can't figure it out, but the fact that, this journey is so exciting that actually I don't want to sleep. Can I continue doing this? And when you've got a challenge, when you've got a bug, when you resolve it, you don't take a break on something like, oh, this is resolved, I can go sleep now. You'd be like, oh, I've resolved this, I'm really good, let me continue working on it, right? Until you find another bug. So yeah, get comfortable, familiarize yourselves with the programmer's sleeping position, which is non-existent, and life is going to be fun. Over to ChatGPT. I thought I would just keep this simple, because we can all Google and find out what ChatGPT is and how it works. ChatGPT is a tool, not a replacement, right? And to one of the questions that was there, if ChatGPT will replace us, the answer is no. It will not replace developers, right? You may have also witnessed a bunch of memes to say that for ChatGPT to replace developers, the customer needs to know exactly what they want. and it so happens that they do not know exactly what they want, right? They've got an idea of what they want, right? But then the experience that you have as a developer is what guides the customer to actually refine what is that needs to be built, right? And with that, obviously, it takes years of like software development and just thinking outside of the box and be able to, just come up with something that will give the customer an idea of what it is that they're actually looking for, right? So one of the things that I had during my journey as a developer was precisely the fact that I wanted to start an IT company, but then I was like, I don't have the experience. I don't know how the market is. So for me to be in that position, I need to be exposed to as many technologies as possible. I need to have worked on many projects, so that I can gather all this experience, right? And with that experience, whenever a new project is thrown at me, it's not that I know everything, but the experience will actually guide me to making very good decisions, right? And immediately dealing with some assumptions that were made throughout the process of coming up with an idea and guide the person throughout that process, right? And a piece of advice as well is that when looking at becoming a developer and going through this journey, right, you probably want to join a software development house, right? And because what that will do is that you'll work on multiple projects, right? And with these multiple projects, they'll most likely be in different industry, whether it's e-commerce, e-learning, whether it's video calling applications, chatting. And what that does to you is that it broadens your experience, it opens your mind. It also gives you the ability to just think outside of the box, right? As opposed to being in a situation where you've been working only on a single application, so you know exactly how this software works, you know the ins and outs of it, and then when you're thrown into something new, then you've got no idea where to even start, right? So as a career progression, you kind of want to start in that space where you can pretty much explore, do as much as possible. And then at the later stage, you can then eventually sit down and say, I just want to work on one product and, do everything that you can possibly do based on your experience in terms of like making that experience great, potentially trying, going on a delusional journey of trying to fix all the bugs in the world, which is not possible because we are all humans and you can never really predict, how people are going to interact with your application or your solution, right? And some considerations to have in mind when using AI tools and things like, ChatGPT is, you need to be mindful of obviously the ethical considerations when you use such tools, because with every tool that is brought forward, there are pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages of it. There's the good and bad, as we all know, right? And with that, you need to ensure that you adhere to privacy guidelines and data protection regulations when integrating some of these tools over to your project, right? So you will notice that there are a bunch of tools that you can actually integrate onto, your IDE, the tool that you actually use to write code, and with that, you'll have certain experiences where some will actually take some of your code, and pretty much put it on the internet and, try and find a better way to kind of like implement this. So what happens is obviously the fact that the code that you have actually written, is now exposed, all right? So that from a developer's perspective, it's not a problem at all because open source, because most of the tools that you actually use, someone has sat down, written, gone through bugs and made sure that you're not, maybe this is for me because I needed to implement a particular feature, but maybe another developer can benefit of this particular tool, right? So they make it available on GitHub, on NPM, and anyone can use it and install it, right? So when we say that you need to be careful, we are not saying that do not share your code, right? We are saying that the project that you may be working on may have some features that are specific to the project, are private, and in some cases you would have signed an NDA, so you want to make sure that, whatever it is that the customer has come up with that is not shared, with the public. Therefore, for lack of better words, their secrets, it's all there in the public. So it's very important to have these things in mind, right? So then, obviously you want to be responsible and maintain the integrity of your work, all right? And just to move on to the next step is, pretty much another meme, which someone, just says that I'm a programmer because they now have got ChatGPT, and you can pretty much tell ChatGPT to do anything. Write me code that is going to, do whatever it wants, login page or a website, and ChatGPT can write you that code, right? And then you'll be like, okay, cool. What do I do with this, right? Because ChatGPT will not generate the files, will not set up a server, will not have all these things ready for you to just take this code and just dump it somewhere and everything is fine, all right? So to your answer, I'm a developer, I'm a programmer, what language uses ChatGPT? Pretty much doesn't answer any question, because you still need to go through the process of understanding, what that is all about and getting to the bottom of it, right? And over to, some guides to, I guess, some ideas on how to use ChatGPT is that use it as a guide, not a replacement, right? Because you still need to be in a position where if all these tools were actually removed, you will still be able to write code, right? You would still be able to pretty much develop a mobile application. You'll still be able to develop a web application, even though everything has been removed, right? Something that Elon Musk has said, for example, is that how to optimize and how to use your own memory, right, is that if there are things that you can quickly find on the internet, if there are things that you can actually, put on your phone as a reminder, do that, right? And use your mind only for things that you cannot store anywhere else, right? And those things are your experience, right? You cannot just grab some part of your experience and then store it in a box or store it on your phone to come back and pick it up, right? So it is very important to leverage, the technologies that are made available, to pretty much, optimize that situation, right? So as said previously, it will not get tired, right? So ask ChatGPT a question, and have it explain in any level that you want, right? If it is explained to you to a level that is actually complex, say, no, I do not understand this, explain further, right? Worst case scenario, say, explain this to me as if I'm a 10-year-old. And believe me, ChatGPT will do exactly that, right? So the idea, right, is not to have something like an AI to just write your code for you and then, you're done, right? The idea is for you to understand exactly what you're doing, understand exactly what you've learned, so that you can learn, right? So if you've got a situation where, for example, you ask ChatGPT or an AI tool to write you code for a login page, and that is done, you pretty much grab that and, put it on your IDE, and you're happy with that and you move on. What happens the next time you need the same thing again? Will you have to go back to ChatGPT? Or will you have learned something to say, oh, okay, based on that interaction, this is the structure that ChatGPT showed me, and let me do that, in implementing this new functionality and see how far I go with it. And there's nothing wrong in getting it wrong the first time, right? So trial and error is precisely what software development is all about, right? We make some assumptions. We want this functionality to work. We write the code to our best ability, and then what happens is that we encounter a bug, right? Something that we did not expect, something we did not foresee. So what do? We go through a process of trial and error to try and resolve that. So do not copy and paste the results from ChatGPT, right? Take time to understand what it is that it has generated, and if possible, take a glimpse at what it has generated, understand it, and then put it aside, go over to your IDE, and based on your experience and based on what you've learned, try to write that code, right? And then if you encounter a challenge, you pretty much go there and look at it and be like, oh, okay, cool. This is the part that I've actually missed. This is the part that I could have actually improved, and this process pretty much will take you through becoming a great developer, right? And one that is actually very important is when debugging your code, do not paste all your code into ChatGPT, right? So the thinking is that I'm just going to grab this code and just paste it there. It's going to tell me what is wrong, right? You need to start doing your homework first, right? Apart from the fact that you'll be exposing all the code, which in this case might be client proprietary, and that will violate some of the NDAs that you potentially signed, is the fact that you do not get yourself used to the idea that the process of debugging, the process of learning starts from within, right? So you cannot immediately outsource that. So what you would do, even when you're coding with people in general, is that you've encountered a bug. The first thing you want to do is, how did we get here? Why is this not working? What is it that is making this thing wrong? And then you go through it as much as possible until you get to a point where you really cannot figure out what's going on. That is the point where you invoke your AI tools, your ChatGPT, to pretty much for it to tell you what you could have missed on how to go about it. And there may be a concern in terms of time to be like, hey, but this will take me 2 hours, while if I just taken this and pasted there, it would have told me in 2 minutes what it is, right? And then the question is, are you concerned about doing this thing as fast as possible but not learning anything, right? Or would you like to be in a position where if something similar to that were to happen, you would be able to immediately resolve that, right? And when you also consider the software development industry, it is a community, right? The idea of open source immediately suggests that everyone will be there available to help you if someone wants to assist you, and exchange ideas, right? And the other thing that we must not forget is that all the code, all the suggestions that are being brought up by ChatGPT, has been collected off the internet, which means people wrote that. People suggested some of those solutions to the problems that we had, right? So if we, for some reason, all stuck to using ChatGPT and we stopped using Git, we stopped using Stack Overflow, what would happen potentially is the fact that ChatGPT would not really be able to give you great suggestions on how to remove your code until maybe we reach a stage where ChatGPT is so advanced, right, that it will be able to do that without scraping over data that has been provided on the internet, right? And an evidence to that is precisely the fact that in some occasions where I've used ChatGPT, where I've tried ChatGPT, it has generated code that is either potentially outdated, right, or imported a couple of packages that have already been deprecated, right? So this then tells you that whenever that code is generated, right, you also need to look at it, right, understand it, because you may find that maybe a particular method is no longer available because a new version of that particular package has been released, right? And ChatGPT, depending on which version it is, will have data limited to 2021 or whatever the case is, while 6 months is already enough for there to be a lot of development in the software industry, right? So as a developer, as an upcoming software engineer, you need to also understand what are your strengths, what motivates you, and what you need to do to get there. All right. So as soon as you discover what motivates you, you keep doing that as much as possible, right? So that it motivates you through tough times when you are dealing with bugs that for some reason you just cannot figure out, right? For example, I'm a visual learner, right? So for me to continue working, for me to continue developing, I need to see change, right? So in most cases, I start with the front end, I make the front end look good and I'm like, oh, this looks amazing. Now let's make it work. Let's make this button take me to the next screen. Let's make this text, generate, an answer and whatever it is, right? So it is important for you to find, that particular thing that motivates you, that tells you that no matter what, if this thing happens, I'll continue developing. So once you found that, you stick to it, right? You stick to it and it will pretty much push you whenever things are tough, whenever things are difficult. And that journey continues, and it is a never-ending journey. You continue learning and learning and learning, as new solutions come about, as new challenges come about. And that's one of the exciting things about this industry. You'd never just sit down and be like, oh, I've seen it all, I know it all. No, 1 minute from here, you're going to learn something new. And your level that you are in is also something that should not scare you at all, right? As a senior developer, I've worked with a lot of developers. I've worked with graduates, I've worked with junior, mid, I've mentored other senior developers as well, and I've come to learn that what happens in the software development industry is pretty much the same that happens in life, right? It doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how much you've actually experienced, someone from any walk of life can still come about and teach you something new. So the fact that you're a junior developer does not mean that you cannot suggest something to a senior developer, right? You should be able to suggest. And there are two sides to it. As a junior developer, you need to not be afraid, because that's how you learn, right? Because if you do not suggest something to a more experienced person, you are most likely to stay with that idea, which may be wrong, right? And you will not learn something. So if you do say, maybe I think we should do it like this, an experienced person will say, no, thank you for a suggestion. That is not a good idea, because this is what is going to happen. It's not going to work, right? So then as a junior developer that, oh, okay, cool, that idea doesn't work, I need to think about something else. But the rewarding side is that you may have a great idea, actually, right? And when you do suggest that great idea, and it is accepted by such a senior developer or someone more experienced, is that there is a validation on your side that, oh, great, so my ideas are not bad after all, or I've learned something. And that, again, motivates you to keep on, suggesting things so that you can actually learn through the process, right? So whenever I work on big projects as well, I like to include a junior developer or a mid developer in the project, because what it does is that as a senior developer, I may think I know it all based on experience. I'm going to do it like this, right? And then I will find myself in a situation where I am implementing a solution in a super complex manner and it's not needed, right? And then, I encounter a bug as a result of the complex implementation, and the junior developer will be like, hey, what if we do it like this, right? Because of the fact that they are so young, fresh, and new to this, their implementations of anything and everything will be simple, right? So complexity does not always guarantee that it is going to work, right? Sometimes you just need a simple implementation and there is your solution, and this leads to what I like to say, which is simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, right? So as developers, it is an exchange, it is a learning experience where we exchange everything that we know, and we learn from each other as we go through the entire process. So yes, I think that is it. And I will be taking any questions that you may have. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for listening to me.
Wow. 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 That was, yeah, that that was, I'm speechless. Can't believe I'm saying this. I'm speechless. That was very insightful, and you really did live up to the expectations and the hype that I gave you there. So thank you also for honoring that, Mr. Alain. First question that I'm gonna have you answer is from Theodora. She says, what advice would you give to us Millsoft Academy students starting our career in software development based on your years of experience? That's a good question.
You've already done the difficult part, which is to start, right? So one of the things that we actually have a problem with is that, oh, this thing looks difficult, this thing is challenging, and then we never start. So as soon as you start, you start being exposed to things and you start experiencing. And another thing that I would actually like to bring about is that in chats with people and on how to tackle certain tasks and how to do things, people will say start with the most difficult task, right? Because then if you complete the difficult task, the smaller and easier task will be easy to work with. I say no, right? Start with the smallest and simplest tasks, right? Because there are two ways to it. When you complete a small and simple task, right, you are not drained, right? Instead, you are motivated because, out of the 10 tasks that I have, I've completed this one. Let me go and work on the other one. Let me go and work on the other one. So by the time you get to the big task, right, which is usually complex, you've already had some experiences, you have learned as well, and therefore you'll also be motivated to tackle that big task, right? And when it comes to things like project management, when you have to report to someone and you start with a big task, there may be a period of silence for like 3 days or, however long it takes for you to get that, and nobody knows what's going on. Right? Are you working? Like, yes, I'm working. Well, if you start with the smallest tasks, it will be a thing of like, oh, this task is done, that task is done, that task is done, and they will pretty much be relaxed. If you speak about micromanagement as well, that's one of the ways to kind of like deal with that. Start with a smaller task, give progress, give updates, and then by the time you are now working on a big task, they'll be like, oh, you've been working so hard, you've been working so much, oh, we've got results here. So take your time in dealing with these big tasks. So yes, start, which you've already done, well done, and then look at starting with the smaller tasks first, get that done, and then work on the big tasks, because the success rate of a small task is a lot higher. Therefore, that will motivate you to continue working.
Wow. Yeah, that was a brilliant answer. That's a really good answer. Thank you so much for that. And Theodora, I hope that you are also as satisfied as I am with that answer. Yeah, that's all about there is to it. You have to start. And the fact that most of you on this chat have already started, you're halfway there. I always say this. Next question is, how has Shopify, Wix, GoDaddy, etc. affected developers and job availability?
That's a complex one, where I would say two things. It has and it has not, right? So things like Shopify, GoDaddy, Wix, let's talk about Wix, for example. Wix came with the idea that, you can develop a website and get it done without the need of a developer, right? So what happened? We were all concerned that, Wix is going to take our job, so we'll no longer do websites. Guess what? We are designing websites out there, right? With Wix still existing. So what this then tells you is that at the beginning, for someone that potentially needs something small, something quick, they will opt to go with things like Shopify, Wix, and GoDaddy, right? And that is potentially cheaper in some cases because it will get them to market super quick, right? But what will happen is that if your idea, reaches any level of success, right, you will need something to be implemented, because users will also give you feedback like, oh, I can't do this, because that's something that you would not be able to do it anyway because of the whole drag and drop, right? And that's when you're like, oh, I need a developer, right? So it is tricky. It goes both ways to say that for the entry level, it may have this particular impact, right? But as soon as you need something a little bit more complex, right, then that's where the developers actually come in. So it is a journey again, which when something such as this is brought into the market, it shakes people a little bit, but we quickly realize that actually no, this resolves one use case, right? It may resolve that use case well, properly and well done, but as soon as you need something more than that, something a little bit more complex, you now have to invoke a developer to it. In some cases they'll be like, hey, I need you to go and work on my Wix website, or I need you to go and work on my GoDaddy, or on Shopify, right? And there you have it. So it runs away and then it comes back, pretty much.
I would like to add some 10 cents there. I couldn't agree more with what you just said. It's these tools, Shopify, Wix, have just democratized access. So small business owners can now get a website. And then, a year later, they go like, hey, I'm limited by this. And now I need a pro dev, right? And so that just makes it so much easier. And in fact, I would say that access to Wix, access to Shopify has increased the number of people that want developers just as a result of the limitations of those platforms. And I'd like to add, don't be shy of using these tools. I use both Wix and Shopify. They're fantastic tools and they fit for purpose. I'm not going to waste my time trying to reinvent the wheel if someone else can charge me $29 a month to use it. So be smart about that. But yeah, totally. I love that point you raised there. It's so accurate.
No, that is very true, which is that if there is something out there and it works, use it, right? Don't waste time trying to reinvent the wheel, especially in this use case where sometimes it's something like really tiny, something that needs to be done quickly. If there's a tool, use it. So that's what you should also learn to do as a developer. First is investigate, do your research. Does this thing exist? Does it work? Right? Does it work for my use case? Right? And then you've got two options from there to either use that tool or improve it in some way, or build something that is different or that pretty much does what you need it to do.
Wow, 100%. Both the experts are agreeing in that. And again, this is what we continuously say. It's a matter of actually utilizing the AI tools, because at the end of the day, it's a developer who's sitting at the end of the screen. So I completely agree. All right, everyone who is watching, I am aware that we are currently now spilling over time. I'm going to ask you guys to give us 15 more minutes, because this is just too good for us to cut one time. So the next question directed to you, Ms. Elaine, was from Tion Wheeler, and she asked, a lot of people have a vision of what they want to do after their studies and the roadmap they want to follow. Did you ever imagine yourself where you are currently? A great question.
Very interesting question. I like planning, right? So as a result, I would have had some idea of what I want to do and which direction that I want to go with, right? But what life does is that, it takes you around in circles, in all sorts of directions, right? What is important is that you need to be ready for both a successful outcome and a unfortunate outcome, right? And what that does is that there is always something good happening out there, and if you are prepared for any situation that comes about, right, you will be able to take advantage of it, right? So in my journey, what I wanted to do is to be exposed to as many technologies as possible. So then I said, okay, what I need to do is that I need to work, right? I need to be in an environment where I can learn as much as possible. I can write code and pretty much jump between different projects and learn all of that. And it doesn't come from only you having a map of what you want to do, and it comes from you actually doing something, right? And with that, you can also deploy something which is pretty, I guess it can be a little bit tricky, but once you do it more times, you kind of like get used to it. I do what is a semi-annual review of myself every 6 months. So at the beginning, I'm like, okay, cool. These are the items that I would like to achieve, right? And then I set out to achieve these tasks, right? And you need to remember that you may achieve them and you may not achieve them, right? So when you get to the end of June, you pretty much sit down and say, okay, cool. This is what I wanted to achieve, right? How far have I gone with it, right? And if I have not achieved it, what are the aspects that affected it, and one situation that was actually very tricky was when the pandemic came about in 2020, right? So like most of my goals were almost not achieved, and for the first time I had something to blame. I was like, oh, it's the pandemic, right? This time it was not me, right? But that doesn't happen very often. So it's also very important to take accountability for your actions, right? And be aware of the fact that one of the people that is most responsible for achieving those goals is yourself, right? So you'll always have an impact on that, aside from everyone else that is around you. Everyone else that is around you is a facilitator, right? Where in some cases, whether they'll facilitate something for you or not is based on how positive you are about it yourself, right? So if I go to you and be like, hey, listen, I'd like to be a software developer. Is there anything you can help me with? I'm like, this person seems very lazy. Maybe I should not spend a lot of time with them. But you get there and be like with a lot of energy and be like, listen, I want to learn this thing. Are you available? I'm going to be like, damn, yeah, let's get the party started. So it starts from within. You need to put yourself in a position where you do some research, you chat with a lot of people, right? And with chatting with a lot of people, do not shy away from chatting with people who are in your level and even below, right? So, and that's another thing. We chat with people who are, older than us and experienced because they know it all, right? In some cases, you may find that they will explain things to you and you'll not be able to understand because you have not reached that level of experience. So talk to everyone. Talk to people in your level. Talk to people below your level. Talk to people above your level. And that will do is that it will give you a full picture, right? Where, for example, if someone who's within your level, they will show you that they are probably in the same journey as you, but they are doing things in a different way, right? So now you've got some thinking to do. It's like, I was doing things this way. Here's someone my age, or in my area, they are doing it differently, right? And then if someone who has achieved something, right, you ask them for advice as well. Even the ones who have not achieved, it's also important because they will tell you what not to do, right? So it doesn't help if you only know what is good, but you don't know what is not good. Because if this thing that is not good comes about, because you don't know it, you may actually think that is good, right? And then you'll get in trouble. So make yourself aware of both. Chat with people who have succeeded in their endeavors and also chat with people who have not succeeded in their endeavors, right? Because just to close, the people who have succeeded in that endeavor will most probably tell you the successful story and the successful journey that they went through. So you will not know exactly about the hurdles that they had to overcome, right? But now, if you chat with people who are not successful, they will tell you about all the challenges that have gone through, and that will prepare you even more.
100%, 100%. I can't agree more. And the fact that you're on this call, on this webinar, you're already chatting to people who are way ahead of you. And so, again, you should commend yourself. If you're a student, you're watching this, or if you're learning in general, you're watching this, you're already ahead of the curve. Again, thank you so much, Elaine, for that brilliant presentation and the answers. I'm going to have to ask Yolokazi, Jonathan, and Sipo to forgive me, but we do not have time to go through these questions, sadly. What I will promise, however, is that one of our staff members is reaching out to you, answering those questions in the chat. And also, please connect on LinkedIn with these two masterminds that are seated there, so that you can get an opportunity to, chat. Just tell them, I met you at the webinar at Melsoft. Laura said I should say hi. Hopefully they'll respond to you because of that. But otherwise, brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. We are now moving on to the final segment of this chat. And the only man who, since we have started, hasn't really said anything, and we're all wondering what is he about. And as you just take in what we just heard, that brilliant presentation that we just heard, I'm going to start another poll. If you have used ChatGPT, what has been your experience? If you have used AI in general, what has been your experience? We heard about how he was saying that you're not going to be replaced by AI, but a developer who is using AI is going to replace you. And so we just want to find out, how has it been for you guys? Did you have any horror stories? If you do, share them in the chat. But now we're going to be moving on to the next section, and I would like to introduce Mr. Lareth Jimu, who is the CEO and the founder here at Microsoft Academy. He also happens to be my brother somehow. And Mr. Lareth, you can just take away and go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you so much to everyone. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Francois. Thank you for all the attendees. Thank you for everyone who was engaging, Yolokazi, Jade, Tion, everybody, each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much. And I hope that you guys got some value. And since we are practically over the hour mark, although we had budgeted an hour and a half, I just want to leave you guys now. And before I do that, So maybe you're wondering, how do I actually break into the ChatGPT space? How do I actually know what I need to say, what I need to mention, how to actually use ChatGPT effectively? So what we've done is that we have taken the time to go on and create an in-depth course for you guys in AI prompt engineering. And I'm just going to quickly share my screen to show you what the course outline looks like. And it's very in detail. It's very detailed. Please just let me know if you guys can see the screen.
Yes, we can.
All right. So I'll just quickly go through the course outline. It's a ChatGPT AI prompt engineering. So the main outcome, the main aim for you, if you take this course, is for you to be able to use ChatGPT as effectively as possible. And we'll start by introducing you to the stuff like artificial intelligence. So we did a lot of research when we were creating this course. We did a lot of research and we asked our students a lot of things like, what do they want to see in the course? And apparently videos are great. Apparently me going behind the camera and explaining concepts is great. So we have taken a lot of videos. Myself, I've made a lot of videos, and we've also taken videos that are already found on the internet and created a library and a resource where you can go from beginner to proficient in prompt engineering. So you'll also learn the basics of AI. What is AI? How did it come to play? What is machine learning, deep learning, all the technicalities that are behind ChatGPT. And I feel like in this age that we're going in now, knowing these fundamentals are going to be essential for any job search or anything that you need to do out there. And we go deeper on how to actually explore the OpenAI API. So that's how to build your own chatbots, your own AI chatbots using ChatGPT with the OpenAI API key. So it's both technical, the course is technical, but it's also just theoretical for people that are non-technical, that just want to understand how to use AI. And then we also have the guides on how to write effective prompts. As you can see here, iterative prompting, because when you're speaking to AI, it's like you're speaking to a human being. So sometimes you'll get a response, but it's not the response that you actually want. It's not giving you what exactly what you want. So you have to go back into the AI, re-explain your prompt, and thoroughly get exactly what you want. Like squeeze as much juice out of it. Like what Alan said, ChatGPT does not get tired. It's not a human being that will get annoyed by the number of questions. You can ask 24/7, 365. And then we also added a section on how to use ChatGPT when you're programming. So this is explaining your code, improving existing code, translating code in between languages, and things like debugging, and so many other things. So we're always updating the course. We're always adding new things because this technology is really, really rapid. It will never stay the same, right? And there's also a section on ethics and future trends in AI, which was a very hot debate to add that. And there are so many other bonuses like 200 AI tools that you can use, 50 prompts that you can use for web dev, and how to learn to code very fast using ChatGPT. So this is your one-stop shop for all things that you need that are ChatGPT related, and it's created by the Microsoft Academy team. We have been working on this for about 4 to 6 weeks now, from the initial date that we announced that we would work on something like this. And finally, we have something that we are very proud to share with you. So the course is ready, it's live, it's available on the website. And if you are interested in enrolling into this course, It is not free, unfortunately. It's not a free course, but it's not an expensive course as well. So the price for this course is 7,000 Rand. And don't be afraid, don't be alarmed. 6,999, as you can see. We are extending a 90% discount for every person who is on this call, because we feel like just by you spending an hour and a half of your time, we should compensate you for that. And most of you guys on this call are Microsoft Academy students anyways. So it makes no sense for us to charge you the normal price that we'll be going out in the market. So this price is not going to stay the same. It's an introductory special offer for all those that are on this call only, and it will be live for the next 72 hours. If you're interested, 699. It's not a lot of money. I went out. Oh, I don't know if I should share this, but I went out yesterday with my partner, and we literally spent that amount on lunch, right? And the knowledge that you will get and the information that you will get it's practically a free course. So we're only charging it because we do need to pay for stuff like Wi-Fi. And Loris has a very big appetite as well. So please support us. Please buy the course. You will not regret it. It's free. It's 699, but the value is so priceless that it's practically free. And I'm just going to share the link in the chat so that you can purchase it as soon as possible. 90% off. You don't get 90% off from Microsoft Academy every day. So that's all from my side. I look forward to reaching out. And as always, of course, when you're learning with Microsoft Academy, you have mentorship. You have me always there to help you. If there's something that you didn't understand, reach out to me and I'll explain it. I'll help you understand that concept. You have the community aspect. You're never alone. You're always with the people that you love that are also taking this course. You have the whole point is that you become better. So all the benefits that you've been getting from Microsoft Academy, they're still in this as well. So I can't wait to see how this is going to go. And yeah, I'll leave it to Loris to wrap it up.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Larrett, and thank you so much for providing us with such a solution that we have here. 90% off. Guys, even Zara doesn't do 90% off. What's going on here? But it's fine. It's fine. Again, I'm just going to thank Alain and Francois for coming on this webinar. Thank you also, Mr. Larry. Thank you to each and every single one of you guys who came in and listened to this. I honestly am honored to be speaking in front of so many people who are in the same mindset and the same tech space. I wanted to answer someone who asked how they can get into Microsoft Academy. I feel like this is the easier way to get in, since, the school fees for the actual course is like 37,000. If you get in through the 700 one, at least you get access to the community. You get to talk to Jade, you get to talk to Tewu, you get to meet so many amazing people. And so I feel like it's a win-win-win for everyone. And so, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I have thanked you. I cannot thank you enough. I am going to now declare that this meeting is finally adjourned. And just hold on a little bit. Apparently, there's something that I'm missing. Okay, so we have a hand raised from Hernani. How should we go about that? Do you want to just type in your question? We can wait and watch if you need to answer. No problem at all. Okay, allow to talk. I have a button that says allow to talk. Would you like to talk, Hernani? Okay, I can't hear anything. Is she saying something? I don't think she is. All right, just share in your question in the chat and we'll all just wait in for you. She says she sent a question. I do not see the question. Do you see the question?
No.
No,
Okay.
not yet. Okay, we're just gonna wait for the question to come in. But then, as for everyone else, thank you so much. You will be receiving emails from us with everything written down, just in case you have to rush somewhere or you're thinking of buying the course, but you're not really sure. Personally, I would buy it because, like he said, 2 good meals and you have literally so much. And as you heard from Mr. Lane himself speaking, he was going on about how a person who is using ChatGPT and AI is the one that's going to replace you. So we are here to teach you so that you are able to be the person who is replacing those people who do not know. Again, I will say this again, you are in the forefront of AI and you are literally ahead of everyone else just by being on this chat. Even if you don't get to buy the course, just by being on this chat. So thank you so much. It seems like the people, they don't want to leave, but they don't. We might as well start a new one. Thank you so much, Francois. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. I'll still wait on for Hernani's question. I'm still yet to see it. But as for everyone else, if you want to leave, the floor is honestly, the door is open for you. If you want to stay and hang out with us, again, you can hang out with us. We're here for you. But thank you so much. Yolokazi says we don't want to leave. I can tell. Brenda says, I love this. Jade says, amazing, guys. Thank you to everyone. Amazing stuff. What a community that we have. Mr. Greg Serendos himself says, great presentation, fellas. What a legend. That is one of the greatest legends that we have here. And we certainly will be inviting him for another chat because he is actually one of the members of the AI business school, if I'm not mistaken, one of these cutting edge schools in AI. So we're definitely going to be inviting him. Seems like they don't want to leave. It seems like they don't want to leave. All right. Still yet to get the question from Hernani, but I guess we're going to have to end the chat. And Nani, if you have any questions, please just send them over to our emails that have been communicating with you. We'll be very happy to help you with that. But otherwise, from the Melsoft family, from Larith, from myself, we would like to say thank you so much. Cheers and enjoy the rest of your week. What a lovely day this was. Have a great one. Cheers.